wherever you are. My name is Arun Gupta. I work for Intel Corporation. I am the Vice President and the General Manager for the Open Ecosystem team. And you can learn more about us at open.intel.com. You can watch our podcast over there as well and lots of other fun things. Today, I am super excited to be with my Java family here. And as we call them as two of the OGs. Gosh, I joined Sun Microsystems way back. Wearing my proud Java logo and my Open Intel shirt as well. I joined Sun Microsystems back in 1999. And so today we're going to talk about the Java community process. What is Java community process? Where is it heading to? What are the exciting moments that have happened over the last several years? And then we'll talk about sort of how to build your career. We are talking to two individuals who have built their career around Java, one in the enterprise, one in the open source community. So you'll hear two very different perspectives, yet hopefully you find them very useful. So welcome, Bruno and Heather.
Hey, Arun. Thanks for having us. Excited to
Absolutely.
see
You
your
want to
guest.
introduce yourself first?
Okay. My name is Heather Vancura, and I am a vice president at Oracle in leading community engagements, and I'm the chair and director of the JCP program, and I also lead community outreach for the MySQL team. And like you said, we were discussing before we started, we're the OGs of the Java community. I joined Sun back in 2000, been working on the JCP and with the Java developer community ever since that time.
And Bruno, you don't need any introduction, but why don't you oblige us?
So hey everyone, hey Arun, awesome. Thanks for the invitation. Awesome to be here. Hey Heather, right? So good to be here with you, right? So after we spent so much time together this last year, that's amazing that we're here. So thanks very much. So we're streaming this to lots of places. So hi for everyone from So Java that's watching us here. Everyone from my channels, thanks so much. Thanks Arun for the opportunity. And you guys are talking about joining Sun, right? So I joined Sun in 1995, right? And I joined like a week before the first public demonstration of Java. So it's been a long time, right? So good, very, very good to be here with you guys.
You are the OG of the OGs. That's pretty awesome.
Very old, right?
Well, we're not passing a judgment on the age here. So let's hear it then. What is JCP? We talked about, Heather, you talked about JCP. What is JCP?
Well, the JCP is the home of the mechanism for developing the standard specifications for Java technology for the Java platform. So it's an inclusive process where anyone can register and participate in reviewing and providing feedback to Java technology. So the people who are using it or want to use it or want to learn it are building their businesses on it. The JCP is where people come together to collaborate and contribute to the future of Java technology, the specifications and the platform.
That's pretty awesome. And Bruno, what is your engagement with the JCP?
So I represent So Java on the executive committee, right? So Java has a strong participation in JCP. We have people in different specifications, and so I'm the representative of So Java there, and we're going to be running for elections right now again, right? So whoever is watching this, right? So if you're not part of the JCP yet, there's still time for you to join the JCP and make sure that we continue their work, right? We try to represent the worldwide Java community, right? As developers, as individuals and a user group, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that I think that we did in the JCP was helping other user groups to participate and help build the associate membership on the JCP. Because one of the things that happened in our room when I first joined the JCP around 2000, and the JCP was not very friendly to individuals, right? Actually, I'm one of the very first individuals that joined the JCP when it was first opened, and then Heather did a great work of actually making very easy for individuals to join in, and then later on we made even easier, right, for even people that are working for companies to be able to join, even if their companies are not interested in joining on the JCP. And then we help it create the associate membership that makes very, very easy for absolutely everyone to join. And we also help it to make a easy process for Java user groups to join in the JCP. So I think that all of these just made the process more open, more inclusive, easier for people to participate. So everyone watching here, you can participate on the JCP. So join us.
All right, that's amazing. Yes, that's true. It is time for the executive committee elections. So we do that every year, and the nominations are open now. And Bruno's running this year with SoJava, so running again since you've been a member of the executive committee for many years. And right now, the only Java user group member on the executive committee. So I'm hoping we have more Java user group members running in the election this year.
Yeah, cool.
So JCP can have corporates, it can have individuals, it can have Java user groups, all sorts of people can appear here. And that's what makes JCP a truly inclusive process.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, Java is the most widely used enterprise language. And for it to sustain like that, that diverse, inclusive representation is so essential.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like Bruno said, back in 2000, it was only members. Only the members who were companies could join, but over time we've evolved that. And so now you can join as a company, you can join as an individual, you can join as a Java user group, you can join as an open source organization. So like the Eclipse Foundation and Apache Foundation are members of the JCP. So
that's beautiful, and look at the diversity of the Java community. And Bruno, this is probably most likely people coming from your side of the world here because you are so famous on the internet. We're getting hello from Brazil, Victor, hello from Simon, hello from Andres, Lima, Peru, Peruvian greeting from Montreal. We're really seeing people from all over the place. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so Arun, I love this, right? Because you have the Peruvian living in Montreal, Andres, it's actually Uruguayan and lives in Peru, right? So I think we're not only everywhere, but just people kind of move around. I think that's one of the beautiful of the IT world, right? That we can actually have this mobility, and I'm very, very glad that lots of people benefit from that.
So let me bring a question here, which Simon is asking, looking into the sign-up process, still navigating the flowchart to see which membership variant I can go for. So my question really is, if somebody wanna join JCP, what do you recommend? How should they navigate the flowchart? What should they look for?
Well, I think the first thing is, so evaluate it and look and see if your company is a member already. So if your company's a member already, you probably could participate as part of your company. And then if not, you could see if your company wants to join. That way you can participate as part of your job, right? Rather than in your free time. But if not, if you decide that you are involved with a Java user group, you can join as a partner member. So partner membership is for Java user groups. So you can have your Java user group join, and that would be called the partner membership. And then if you're an individual, it's a matter of deciding if you want to be a full member as an individual or an associate member as an individual. So the associate membership is that new category that Bruno talked about that we created 5 or 6 years ago. And that's a lightweight process to join that doesn't require you to have your employer sign anything. So that would allow you to be a contributor on a JSR. If you're a full member, you would need, and you're employed, you would basically need to get permission from your employer. So full members, the difference there, what you can do is you can actually lead a JSR and be an expert group member. If you're an associate member, you're participating on JSRs as a contributor. So the associate membership is the lightweight membership, like a one-page agreement. But you can join and as an individual as a full member. But what we found when we were creating the new membership levels was that most individuals don't really need to be a full member. The things that they want to do to participate in the JCP, they can do it as an associate member. So that means commenting and reviewing the specifications and testing out the early access builds of the reference implementation and providing feedback in that way.
And that is so right, because if you want to be a full member, you got to think about it, why you want to be a full member.
Yeah.
Because if you really want to run a JSR, And if there is no commercial or the corporate backing, it's going to be very difficult to do this on your own dime, because running a JSR is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just had, we were just talking actually a little bit ago about, we have JSR 381, which is visual recognition specification for, recognizing visual images via AI. And that was led by 2 individuals, but it was a very big undertaking and took a lot of time. So Zoran Severek and Frank Greco led that JSR. And it was a very big job for them to do. And they were able to pull in different companies, because the other thing you have to do is, you want to lead a specification JSR, you need to have other people, people in the industry who want to create implementations of that standard specification, right? So you can't just create it in isolation and because you want to, right? Because you want to use it personally, you have to actually get some consensus from the community. So they were able to pull in a couple different companies, including Amazon, that was interested in building the implementation of the specification for visual recognition.
So it's not just the specification, it's the specification, the actual reference implementation, as they say, and there's a third component to it, which is a compliance kit, right?
Right, the TCK. Yeah. So also create the TCK, so you can have the independent implementations, test their implementation against it and make sure that it's going to be compliant to the specification.
Gotcha. Bruno, talk to me about this as SoJava. By the way, what is SoJava, first of all?
So before I go there, just really quick here, because I see Andres asking here, if I don't work for a company, can I join as a full member? And he did look at the flow chart, and yes, right, you can join as a full member. If you're an individual, you don't have a company that owns part of your work, right? So if you're self-employed, or you have like a one-person company, for example, that's very common here in Brazil, then you can join as a full member.
Yeah.
And because you can sign it for yourself, right? And so that's good. But you can also join as associate anyway, because that's always good, right? And then and so Andres has a good question there, right? So what happens if I join as a full member and then I get employed? So the moment you get employed, Andres, then you have to either become an associate or your company has to sign in. The whole reason for that is because the JCP is, it's one of the jobs of the JCP is to collect the intellectual property from everyone that's contributing to anything, in a way that we can have guarantee that anyone that implements the specification has full rights on the intellectual property, right? So if you contribute anything that it's not yours because you're working for a company, you have a contract with your company saying that whatever you do is theirs, then that company has to assign the property to the JCP, so we can have like a guarantee that all the Java specifications are available for everyone to implement, right? So that's what you have to do, Andres.
Well, and that's why they call you Bruno the Java man.
Yeah.
So tell us about what SoJava is, and then also answer us, what is it in it for SoJava to be involved with JCP? What does SoJava get out of it?
Right, that's a really good question, and I think that's lots of Java groups should really pay attention to this, right? Because SoJava is a Java group, right? It's the Brazilian Java User Society. That's what SoJava means, right? So Society of Java Users, and so this is we're a Java group that exists since 1998, and so we're almost the JCP's age, right, Heather?
That's
and
right.
So, yeah, and so and basically our main goal is to help and professionalize the Java developers in Brazil, and but we have activities in lots of different cities in the country, and we have everything you can think about, in-person meetings, events. We participate in lots of activities. We do we have a strong presence in YouTube. That's why one of the places we're streaming here today, and so one of the things that SoJava always thought it was our responsibility is to make sure that the Java standards were actually any standards that the Java developers needed, right, were adapted and had input from Brazilian developers, right? So in the very beginning, as soon as we're able to, we join the JCP exactly to bring that that vision, right, for the process on what Brazilian developers need, right? So, we have needs like, for example, one interesting example is the whole discussion around Java money, right? So Otávio Santana was a strong participator in that specification to bring, Brazil is very strong in terms of Java usage inside banks, right? So we want to make sure that these standards would be adapted to our needs, right? It's Java time also, right? The whole thing about Brazil has a very crazy situation that, right now we don't have summertime anymore. But when we had summertime, Brazil had summertime was a decree, right? So we change every year, right? And so that made the whole time in time zones in Brazil a little tricky. So we want to bring that information, right? We want to bring that discussion so we can make sure that our applications, our Java applications, can use these standards and also implement what's needed here for the country. So that's how we started Arun. But of course, So Java is a strong participant in the worldwide Java user group community. We participate internationally in lots of activities. We are one of the founders of the international Java user group community, and so as much as we can, we also bring the input from user groups everywhere. So if you're participating anywhere and your user group is not part of the JCP, we can help you be part of the JCP, but we can also help you bring the discussions into the JCP too.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I had forgotten that was time and date API, right? JSR 308, that was, a lot of contributions from Michael and So Java, and then also with Java Money. I think it's called JSR 354, right? So Otávio participating in that. So I think, So Java is a great example of that long-standing commitment and membership, as well as collaboration and contributions. So I think you've set the example there. And now we have, I think, 100 different Java user groups who have joined the JCP. And I even see somebody from Nashville. I actually just helped to kind of restart the Nashville Java user group this year. And I think, you set a great example for that too, like bringing in different leaders. So the Java user group continues and carries on. Similar like in New York City, where we just had the JCP meeting, right? They've been around since the 90s as well, and another really strong user group. And they have, that strong leadership base. So bringing in new leaders, so you have that continuation of the community that is longstanding.
Yeah, Rodrigo Graciano from the New York Java SIG just showed up there in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, he's one of the leaders.
Not on time. When you mention them,
it's like a virtuous cycle, essentially, because JCP is growing. JCP wants that diverse, inclusive representation from all across the world. And Bruno, as you said, because the Brazilian concerns are best understood by Brazilian, and likewise, in order for the time and the money and those elements to be better represented in the Java community, you give that feedback in there, and then you work on adoption of the technology in the country. So that's what becomes that's where Java is the most popular language in the enterprise, essentially.
Right, and really, there's no other language that has this way of contributing in the community, that with all the different ways and intersections. So I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've talked to so many other folks from different language communities, and they are definitely envious of how the community has just been dramatic, all across the world. One question by Carlos Zella Bruno that I want to highlight.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Carlos. We actually met Carlos. Yeah.
Do we need to be a Java champion or be a distinguished Java pro to be a member of JCP and propose an enhancement?
Anyone can join and be a member of the JCP. If you want to propose an enhancement, like I said when I was talking about the visual recognition, you need to collect that industry consensus, right? So it helps to be connected, or we can help you, though, be connected with people in the industry, because you want to reach out to them, socialize the idea, sometimes even go to other communities to socialize the idea. Like, I think some spec leads have gone like in the Apache community and other places to kind of bring in that community perspective and see how people might be using this specification or standard in the industry.
And maybe the way I would like to phrase this is, Java is for everybody and everybody is for Java. So it'll just make Java better that way, essentially.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And so I just kind of talk a little bit about Carlos' question, right? So, you don't even need to be part. I mean, we're talking here about Java being part of the executive committee, for example. You don't need that, right? So Java, for example, even before it was possible for Java for a user group to participate on the JCP, we had participations on different specifications. I think the first one that we did was on Java 1.5, Tiger, right? That we had a representative of Java being part of the expert group of that. He was just joining in as an individual, not but he was representing the group there. So the process, Carlos, is very, very open, right? So you can participate in lots of different ways. Actually, we're having a discussion on the JCP meeting just a couple of weeks ago that you don't even need to be member of the JCP to be part of the specifications, right? So you can just join in. There's all kinds of ways for you to participate. Everything's open. Everything's open source. So the repositories are open. So if you want to just go in and look at the source code that's available and make comments and contribute like that way, it's also possible. So if you can just follow what the specification, the expert group is doing, it's also possible. So there's lots of different ways. And now one thing I want to point out, Carlos, is no, you don't need to be a Java champion or be a distinguished Java pro to be part of the JCP. But if you join the JCP and you contribute, I'm pretty sure you're going to be a Java champion and a distinguished Java pro, right? So that's the other way around, actually, probably.
That's true. It is a virtuous cycle, right? And I've seen that so many times over the years since I started in the JCP is, see people who join as individuals or contributing as part of a company or an organization or a Java user group. And before you know it, they're being nominated to be a leader, to be a champion. They're a Java user group leader, or, they're seeing them speaking at conferences or, become prolific on social media. It happens, time and time again.
Right. And I think the important part to clarify is Java Champions is not just about coding, as Bruno said, is championing the cause of Java. And that could be done in a wide variety of ways, whether you're promoting Java, running a meetup, participating in the JCP, writing blogs, writing code. All of those are very inclusive ways. All right. I'm going to move on to a different topic, slightly related topic, though. Both of you have built a phenomenal career, in Java over the years, and both of you have gone very different path. Heather, you have stayed on the corporate world, and over the years, you have risen up to now become a vice president at Oracle. Bruno, you are probably the CEO of Java in Brazil. So that's how I see you, the Java man. So what are some of the tips and techniques and tricks that you would say that allows you to build such phenomenal career, in an open source community, particularly in the Java world?
Tips and tricks. Wow. Well, I mean, I think that it's really about developing your kind of social skills. And we talk about that a little bit. We've talked about that, Arun, before, and obviously Bruno and I have talked about that before. So that's the non-technical part, right? So, as a person involved in the technical community, a lot of people just think of it that way as, writing the code, evaluating the code, but there's so many different aspects to being involved in the technology space. And I think focusing on those things in particular has really been helpful to me in my career. So focusing on being a person who brings people together to collaborate, to be able to work together, to be able to communicate with each other, and to be able to resolve conflicts, right? Those skills are really important. And I think that I've maybe just establish myself as someone who can be a connector, help people to collaborate, help people to find solutions and be able to work together, as well as be able to assist people in their career to navigate different choices or different points, come to me as a guide. And I think even within my company that I've become, that's, a few tips from my perspective in terms of what I've done personally.
So what you're saying is basically be a human, be a connector,
Yeah.
and don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. Yeah.
Don't be a jerk. Yeah.
That's one way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, like, if just be a human, just be a kind person, and don't be just selfish where you are doing things for yourself. Help out others,
Right.
essentially, is the fundamental. Because The way I look at this is, Heather, you're so right. If I am looking for source of happiness only within myself, then there is only one source. If I'm looking for source of happiness in others, there are 8 billion people that are going to give me happiness. Imagine the amount of happiness that will give you. So I think that is just phenomenal to me. Thank you for that wonderful suggestion. Bruno, what do you think?
So when we hear things like this, right? So it's not being the technical part. I know that developers like, oh man, but no, I want to be a very technical person. I want to really go deep technically, and then we forget, right? That is the extra things that makes a difference. So Arun, I'm not sure if I ever told you this, but one of my claims of fame, right, or my bragging rights, right, is that I opened for Iron Maiden twice in my life, right? So I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, right? And the reason I say that is because Bruce Dixon has been a couple of times in Brazil campus party, giving a talk, right? And both times that he was here, I was the guy on the stage right before him, bringing the audience in, inviting him to the stage, all that. And so, and Bruce has, being the lead singer of Iron Maiden, he has this notion of what a rock star is, right? So, we don't actually really understand what like a top rock star is, but he does, right? For sure. And one thing that he said in his talk that I always bring with me is that, he says that the difference between, I know nothing about music, right? Maybe you guys do, but I don't know. But Bruce Dixon says that the difference between a normal musician and a rock star musician, it's not the music, right? Because both have to have the music to be musicians, right? And the difference is the rest, right? The things that the rock star does that the normal musician doesn't do. And I think that what Heather's talking about is exactly this, right? So the difference, for you to be an amazing developer, it's not only the technology, right? The technology every developer have, right? But it's the rest, the other things that you can do that will actually put you. And for me, this is what I call the spiral of growth, right? Because for you to be an amazing developer, what really needs to happen is that you have to be involved in the hardest problems, in the most difficult, most interesting projects, right? So the more you are involved in those projects, the better you get as a developer, right? The more technical you become. But for you to be chosen, to be selected for those hard projects, people need to know you, right? You have to have a good reputation as someone capable of solving those problems, right? And so, like Heinz Kabut says, right? Once people see you as an expert, they invite you to work on the hardest problems. And when you work on the hardest problems, you become the expert, right? And so if you really want to go deep on technology, you have to be visible, right? That's why, participating on the JCP is a great way, or the things that Heather's talking about, right? Being social and, share your knowledge, all of that, build the reputation that you need to be invited for the hardest problems. And that's what going to get your career growth. So I think that's the spiral of growth, right? You learn something, you share with others, then you invite it for hard problems. And with that, you learn more, and then you share more, and you get invited to more interesting projects. That's what's going to make you grow.
That is beautiful, actually. And I've been deeply involved with the cloud native world for several years now. And Bruno, what you're explaining is really chop wood, carry water. A lot of the times I've seen developers getting too buried down that the only time I'm feeling excited is when I'm writing code. But you got to think beyond that horizon. Whether you are a junior developer, whether you are a senior developer, is all the more important for a senior developer because follow the leader happens. If as a senior developer you are not spreading the knowledge, you are not spreading the wisdom, then how are the junior developers who are looking up to you, they're going to do that? So I think that element of spreading the knowledge, giving back to the community is fundamental. And as a matter of fact, when we are looking at the Java Champions nomination, that's what we look at, right? We look at it, have you been doing this selfishly for yourself, or are you truly giving back to the community? How are you making the community better? What are you shared some tips and tricks. Anything else that comes to your mind in terms of building your open source career, particularly in the Java community?
Yeah, so in terms of tips and tricks, here's I think the biggest tip that has to do with the JCP, with open source, with user groups, whatever, right? So lots of people, and I love that Rodrigo Graciano is here with us because his story is amazing on that regard, right? Lots of people, they want to participate on something. They say, yes, I want to go and I want to contribute. I want to give ideas. I want to do things, right? And for me, Arun, this is like, someone that comes to your house, you don't know that person, the first time they're in your house, and they say, hey, you know what? This sofa's on the wrong place. Let me change the sofa from here, right? Oh, why are you guys having the big room for you, right? I think the big room should be for the kids. And so they try to change things, right? And in reality, you're not able to change things before you participate, before you listen, before you're part of the group, right? So when you get to someone's house or someone open source project, right, you should do the things that they're simple things that no one wants to do, right? So for example, go clean the dishes, right? Go do, like you said, right? Chop wood, carry water. I mean, go do the small things, because once you do the small things, then people are going to trust you to go do the big things, right? And I love the story from Rodrigo Graciano here, because Rodrigo, when he wanted to participate on the New York Java SIG, he said, I'm available. What can I do? And so he kept saying, I'm available. What can I do? Until one day, the guy that was checked the badges on the door, that guy was on vacation. Someone said, hey, Rodrigo, if you really want to help, how about you go down and check the badges on the door, right? So I mean, like, very simple thing, something that most people can say, I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to write code, man. I'm a developer, right? I want to do the big stuff, right? But then Rodrigo said, no, yeah, I can do it. So he went there just to check the badges, right? But then with that, he won the trust. And then he started to grow up in more activities and more things inside the user group, right? So today he's one of the leaders of the user group. He's a Java champion, and he was working on an amazing company, doing amazing projects, right? And because he was willing to start small, right? So my biggest tip for you guys: be willing to start small, right? Go to an open source project and do these small things, right? Help out in the documentation, help out in testing, run the code somewhere, participate in the main list, do this small stuff, but don't just do it, right? Keep doing more and more, little bit, because that's going to make you grow. And that's going to make you everyone.
That is such a beautiful tip that you've shared. Really, what you're saying is be humble.
Yes.
Take the first step. The journey to the leadership is generally never a linear path. You can't say, I'm right away going to jump into running the Java user group, because you don't have the experience. You don't understand the community dynamics. You don't know what it takes to run. Because if you seek out in the community to recruit speakers, but people don't know you, they won't trust you. So just by showing up consistently, serving pizzas sometimes, handing out badges, and just staying back for the cleanup, because that way the leadership realizes that this guy is committed, this person is committed, and then they start pulling you into other roles. And we're just talking about the Java user group, but the same is true for the projects as well. Like, do the project triage, like issue triage, simple doc bug fixes. Oh, I'm going to run the meetup for you, or I'm going to organize, do the dirty things. But once you start doing quote unquote dirty things, but once you start doing chop wood, carry water, you're automatically elevated, and maybe not, but there's a higher likelihood that your recognitions are awarded. I mean, in the cloud native community, there is a award called as Chop Wood Carry Water Award that is actually given to people who do great. That kind of work. So I think that recognition is something people look for. Fantastic.
That's true. Yeah. And I think in open source projects too, and this is what I always say to people when they ask about how to contribute, is those things like, if you comment consistently on the specification, the spec leads get so few comments on the specification. So right there, they're going to recognize your name, and especially if you're consistent. So starting small and being consistent. So if you're consistently providing comments on the specification, you're definitely going to be remembered and make yourself stand out as a leader and build that trust. Or same thing with trying out the early access builds. If you're consistently providing comments on, you tried it, and on this in this environment, this type of application, this is the what you found when you ran and tested your application. That's again, fantastic. You're consistently doing that, and there's opportunities to do that on an ongoing basis now with the Java release cadence. We have every other week new builds come out. So if you're doing that on a consistent basis, you're definitely going to be remembered.
Exactly. And I think I love that tip, start small, be consistent, consistency trumps everything. Just keep showing up again and again. And I remember, gosh, almost 8, 10 years ago, when Docker became a new phenomena in the world. And as people were looking at Docker, I just started playing with it. And I just started writing about it without realizing who's reading and who's not reading. And after first 5, 7, 10 blogs, I realized, oh, this matters to people. And then the Docker leadership started paying attention to it, and I was pulled to become a Docker captain. And so, really, do this for the fun of it. Make sure you are having fun in doing what you're doing, and be proud of it. Stay humble. Don't be a jerk. Start simple. Be consistent. I think those are some of the key tips that are coming along.
Yeah, and share it. Like you said, you were blogging about it. So if you're doing it and having fun, that's great. You're developing your skills, but you have to share what you're doing as well, so other people are aware. So even if that's on, short posts on social media, or like you said, Arun, with your blogging, right? You're sharing your knowledge, but you're also helping yourself to become more visible and establishing yourself as a leader in the space.
And you do become a leader, right? So Karen here says that Arun was one of the best Docker captains. So congratulations. That's great.
I thoroughly enjoyed that community, actually. I'm still enjoying that community. I think having that connection, kind of sharing your passion, Heather, to the point you were saying, how do you share your passion? Just don't keep it inside you. The more you do it for yourself, what goes around comes around, and then you become more visible. Let's pivot the topic one more time. Both of you have sort of published books, self-published books, contributed to books. 2 weeks ago, you released a book that both of you have as a first-time author that is published by a third party.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 2 weeks
Absolutely
ago.
amazing.
You're right. 2
Super
weeks ago
excited about
today.
it.
You're right. Yes.
Tell me what the book is about.
Hey, that's right.
I'm still recovering. Actually, I just got the book yesterday. Here it is.
And what is the book title?
Developer Career Masterplan. This is the book. Yeah.
And both of you co-authored it together?
Yes. So 2 of us wrote it together. It was a long process, but basically started with us talking about, what kind of book we would write. Actually, we were talking about stories, right? And sharing knowledge, that thing we just talked about, sharing knowledge, right? That we both enjoy doing that. And actually it was during the pandemic that we talked about it, and it was challenging during those times, right? So I think we had just talked about it in a casual conversation, and then coincidentally, as people sometimes do, publishers come and say, hey, do you want to write this book or whatever? And that happened to me maybe like a year later, I think. And I said, no, I'm not interested in that topic, but I would be interested in writing a book if you wanted me to write a book on this topic, which is about, helping developers with their careers and sharing career stories. And, they said, well, we've never written a book like that. And I said, yeah, it's a new category, but it's a need that I've seen. And, if you agree to let me write the book, I'll write it with Bruno as my co-author. And they said, okay, absolutely. So that is, how we started on the journey of writing the book, and deciding how we would split it into 3 different parts and the things that we wanted to cover, and started about the process that took us I think it took us a year and a half from the time we got the outline done, but with the time of the outline and discussions, maybe 2 years.
I think that's one interesting thing that Heather is sharing right there, because the reason why we actually got this book done is because both her shared with me that she wanted to write a book, and I shared with her that I wanted to write a book, and we discussed that. So, we didn't keep in our own mind. We just say, oh, it's my book. I just want to, so we're talking about doing it. And we even have the idea of maybe we can do it with other people, things like this. And so the moment that the opportunity showed up, right, we knew that both of us wanted to do that, right? So a lot of times people tell me things like, oh, I have this idea, but I can't tell you. I said, okay, so don't tell me, right? So it's not going to happen. It's very big, right? But if you tell people, then the chance it's going to happen becomes amazing, right? So our common friend Yara Sanger, she says it a lot, that a dream that you dream together is just a dream that you dream alone is just a dream that you dream alone. But a dream that you dream together is reality, right? So I think that's how it started. And I'm very thankful for Heather for
That
joining
is
this.
fantastic. I mean, there's an African proverb. I'm a runner, so my analogies are running analogies.
Mhm,
It says, if you want to go far, if you're going to go fast, go alone.
mhm,
If you're going to go far, go together.
right.
And I can imagine during the last 1.5 year of your journey, there may have been times if you were working alone, the idea was like, oh, this is too much. I'm dropping it. I can't do this. But
Yeah,
with two of you working together, how was the journey different?
it was
Well,
possible.
yeah, it became possible. I think we actually share that proverb in the book, actually. Yeah, I'm familiar with that too. So yeah, the proverb of going far together. And yeah, I mean, I think, we had a plan for the book. We thought we'd be done with it in 6 months. But we definitely, stayed on track and brought, our styles together. That's the other thing. I think we learned a lot about ourselves and each other in the process, right? Encouraging each other and, deciding how we were going to work together, because that changed along the way too. We thought we just, it's kind of like similar to coding, right? Like we thought, oh, just divide and conquer. You write these chapters, I'll write these chapters, and then, we'll put it together and it will just be amazing. But, there's so much more that comes, into play when you actually start to get down to doing the work, right? Like trying to pull it together and, having, opinions that maybe aren't the same. So in the end, we really, put the two perspectives together, and incorporated both of our content and both of our perspectives into each and every chapter of the book. And so in the end, that made the product better, the book better, the insights and the knowledge that we shared better, but it also made it a lot more work. But
And
it
I
was
guess
worth it.
and I guess the memories that you build for lifelong now.
Yeah.
Think about 5, 10 years out. Oh yeah, we wrote that book together. I think that's
Hmm.
to me, life is nothing but just building all those beautiful memories, right? Nobody would remember. I know, Bruno, you casually mentioned JDK 1.5 Kestrel. I don't think people will realize what JDK 1.5 Kestrel was, because Tiger rather,
Yeah, tight. Yes,
because
tight.
JDK 1.5 was Tiger,
Yeah.
but those code names, Tiger, Kestrel, Merlin, I don't remember the actual project that I worked, but I remember the fun that I had in working in those projects. So
Yeah.
it's super important that we understand that we have that fun, no matter what you're doing in your life, work, book, workout, hiking, watching a movie. You got to have fun in it. If fun is not there, it's absolutely meaningless, in my opinion. There are days when you are doing a grind, and in that grind, if you're having fun, it doesn't feel like a grind.
Yeah. And one thing that you said there, Arum, right? When the whole thing about, if you want to go far, go together, right? The one thing that I think about this proverb every time is that, people say, yeah, but I want to go fast, right? And so, but career is an infinite game, right? So it's all about going very far, right? It's not about the sprints, and the whole thing that you're talking about here, right? Having fun and doing with other people, and building relationships. Actually, that's what reading my board right here, relationship, right? Building relationships. This is the thing that's actually going to make you go really, really, really far, because that's exactly, you guys talking about don't be a jerk, for example, right? That's the whole thing, right? So everything that we're talking about here, it's about considering your career as an infinite game, that you're not here to win from anyone, right? You're here to win together, right? And so the more you work with other people, the more you make connection, the more you build relationships, then the farther you get. And then sometimes you look back and say, I don't even know how I got here, right? But and it all comes from, you got to hear Karen saying that, oh, you're on the best Docker captains, but you didn't even know there was a Docker captain when you started, right? And so now you're a VP in Intel, right? So it's like, when you think back, how did I get here, right? So what did I did? And if you look, it's because you did with others, you did together, you got involved, you were consistent, all these. And so, yeah, let's work together to get far.
That is super important. Just being kind to others, just being helpful to others, not screwing up people, not going behind their back and backbiting, all those things. No, 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 no. I mean, Harvard has done this study for 85, almost 90 years now, where they picked up about 700 people in the Boston neighborhood, and they have followed them for generations. And they're saying, what is one factor that makes you happy? over 85 years, one factor that makes them happy, Bruno, you said that word, relationship.
Right.
Having that community, it is so much more important. So I think as you're trying to build your open source career, be very cognizant of the part that are you kind to the other person, particularly in an open source world. As you're reviewing a pull request, you could be sending the review at the point when the other person is sleeping, where they don't have a chance to defend right away. So let's be kind in our comments, because online sometimes if you're making a comment, it could be seen like, oh, why is this person talking like that? Why is this person behaving like that? So be extra kind in your tone. That goes a long way. Let's talk about, Sonia is actually saying,
No,
well said, Bruno.
just a quick comment here, Aaron. You asked about the fact that we work together, and really for me, the fact that I work with Heather in this book, it made all the difference, right? Because I've learned it. I've self-published books before, and and going through the process of PACT was a totally learning experience, and I learned that if it was not Heather, this book would not exist, right? So thanks very much, Heather. I mean, I keep repeating this because it's totally true, right? She was she was the heart of it. She was the one that pulled everyone together. It's not only me, right? You see all the people that were interviewed. Heather was the person that kind of pulled everyone together to actually get this thing across the finish line. So yes, working with others, guys, this makes all the difference in your life.
It absolutely
true.
does.
Yeah. And Douglas is here. He's saying howdy. He was our technical reviewer for the book. So,
Yes.
right, we needed that. And all the people that we interviewed for the book, including you, Arun. So I interviewed you for chapter 4, talking about skills that you need besides coding. We already talked about that here today earlier in the session. So that was, really great to be able to match people that have been able to implement some of the things that we talk about in the book into their careers.
Yeah, and I think Dan, howdy, Dan. I've known Dan for a while actually.
Oh,
He
yeah,
put
me
a really,
too.
really good comment here. It says, I was also reading something where with PR comments to also put praise in there to help give confidence and praise the PR requester. I've also taken this approach as well to call out good work. So the fact that somebody is sending a pull request, don't just jump on them like, how dare you review my code? Be first of all thankful, be grateful that somebody is giving you the comment. And then, one of the things, Heather, that you and I chatted about is task conflict versus people conflict. Bury down to the task. Like, is this really a feedback on the task or the person? When you are reviewing the PR, be very cognizant of that part. That'll make your feedback on the PR that much better. So I think it's super exciting. Now, we have about 10 minutes left. I want you folks to walk me through the structure of the book and what is exciting about the book. So talk to me through that part.
Well, do you want to go, Bruno? Yeah, I can see you want to start.
I want you to go there, but
Okay.
just to say hello. So thanks a lot, Douglas. Douglas was our code. You're talking about PRs and reviews, right? So we had that because we had Douglas reviewing the book and making comments, and we had that really was really helpful to us, right? So I also like to thank Sonia for saying well said. Thanks a lot, Sonia. Vincent say excited to get the book. So thanks a lot, Vincent. And there's you mentioned about being kind, right? So Andres here is saying it's not. I'm not sure if it's okay to self promote here. Yes, you can always promote your blog. Don't worry. And then he put a blog there, right? So if anyone is watching this, there's a link there for Andres Alcaraz blog where he talks about how to contribute to open source project. Andres contributes to JPOS, right? The Java point of sales library, and so it's a great project done by APR. It's an awesome open source developer that actually built a whole company around a Java library, right? That is being used by it's one of those things that are there's so many opportunities in open source. JPOS is a good example, right? So it's a library that's internal to many banks. I mean, look, I can guarantee that absolutely everyone here runs JPOS code because every time you do a transaction, you use a credit card.
They may not know it.
There somewhere, right?
They may not know it.
But most people never heard of it, right?
Yeah.
Most people never know what about that, right? So one of the projects that I keep telling people that, if you're in Brazil, you definitely use my code, because I wrote like a bank application that everyone in Brazil has to use, right? And has JPOS in that code right there, right? So there's all kinds of open source projects. We keep looking, because there's Docker, there is, Java, and there's all these big flashy name open source projects. But there's a lot of other open source projects that's kind of build the infrastructure for that we use every day. And so I really love that there's so many opportunities for us to participate.
Absolutely.
That's true. And I think Megan said made a comment there too, which is sharing knowledge, how that helps. And I think that is really what the book is all about, is sharing knowledge that we had. So basically taking the knowledge that between Bruno and I, multiple decades of experience working with developers and seeing, things that have impacted their career and how they could build a path, from, junior. And if you're already senior, moving your career to that next level, even if you're already senior, with some of the practical advice that we were able to collect throughout our careers, but then also those real life examples from industry experts. And that's what we wanted to do. And we broke it into 3 parts, and, each part has, 5 or so chapters, and every chapter has interviews and examples that relate to the chapter. And the 3 different parts, part 1 is about skills, right? And not just the technical skills, but, how to be always learning, different elements of that, different skills that you need to develop. And then part 2, being how to participate and get involved with the community, right? And, a lot of the things that we talked about here today, right? And then part 3 being, how to create impact, how to be a leader, all the different things that you can do to really make yourself stand out as a leader and create an impact that's beyond just yourself and your immediate circle, in your own community or in your own company or in your own university setting, wherever you are. So how to create that impact and really be seen as a leader and really, take your career to that next level.
Yeah.
And so people can read interviews from these developers across the world, and on those themes, they can figure out what skill, like let's say skill is an area where they want to focus on, then they focus on worst part of the book. How do you recommend people read the book? How many pages are in the book, for example?
Well, there's 300 pages, but it actually is not that thick. I was surprised, right? So it's like, not really that thick.
No, not that.
300 pages. So I've actually, so people have commented on the book. I had thought, you could read it front to back, right? Cover to cover. But we have a diagram in the book too, that kind of splits out the different skills. So, if you look at that in the very front of the book, you can see, it really is a continuous loop, like feedback loop, right? All the pieces come into play. So it's definitely not like a linear process where you have to start at the beginning and go all the way through. So we list out the chapters and, pick things that are relevant to you. I say the same thing, when you got involved in an open source project, right? Or get involved in any kind of project, in your career, right? Like start with something that's interesting to you that, fuels your passion. Start there. And, read that chapter and see some of the things we talk about in the book about how some, well-known or sometimes not well-known developers have, incorporated this into their career, and what's the impact been, and then, go from there. But that's my recommendation.
And both are important. And both are important in the terms of well-known and the not so well-known.
Yeah.
Because that perspective sometimes is super important. I just want to call out, Bruno, you are a true star buddy here. Liz Norman says hello.
So let me just say one
Souza says hello.
Yeah, so
Megan Marshall is calling out, cheesing big time. This is super and very important.
So our room, I brought the family, right? So Liz right there is my sister. So hey, Liz, how you doing? So good to be here, right? So she's my host sister when I lived in the U.S., right? So we keep in contact. It's very, very good. So good to see you here. And so everyone else, thanks there. But one thing that Heather is talking about is that we had this idea of the feedback loop, because really all those things can help your career, right? And one interesting thing is that the book has like 15 steps, right? Not every single one of those steps are required for you to have an amazing career, right? And so, hey Liz, hi my brother. Right? So hey Liz, how you doing? Good to see you. So basically, not all the 15 steps are required, right? So you can look at it and say, oh man, I always wanted to be a speaker. So there's a chapter for that, right? I always wanted to lead a team, right? So you can take a look at the chapter for that. So you can start anywhere you want, But what we think is that the 15 steps together, right? They build an amazing place for you in your career, right? So you start anywhere you want, and then go through it a little bit at a time. It's not one of those books that you have to read and just kind of, oh yes, I read it once. And it's just one of the things that you can come back many times to it. And I think that most important is that the book is very action driven, right? So everything we say there is things that you can do, right? So take a look at one thing that you want to do, and maybe in a whole chapter, there's one thing you want to do, just do that, right? And, like Vincent's talk about step by step, exactly, right? So do step by step, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of results with that.
And I think there's a promotion going on right now. If someone said they wanted to get the book. So I think until October 24th, you can get 20% off on Amazon with the code 20.
And Heather, you were talking about earlier, before the call, you were talking about this is a bestseller. Tell about that part.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. So yeah, Bruno and I actually happened to be together, and we hadn't seen each other. I don't know how many years, probably 4 years, but we happened to be at a JCP meeting, and the day the book launched. And so we got together and did some promotional activities. And we took
you have no idea what just happened. Just 1 second.
Okay. Anyway, so then, we take a screenshot. It's a #1 bestseller, right? In new releases, in Java programming, computer literacy, information technology. And yeah, Bruno got his package just now.
Bruno got his book.
I hadn't gotten the book yet. I actually ordered it myself because I hadn't gotten it yet.
Mind blowing.
I can't believe that, guys. My wife just brought in the box, right? So I'm sure you it says 5 titles. So we can do an unboxing right now.
Let's do an unboxing, man. Let's do it. That's awesome. Okay. Sorry, Heather, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, that's okay. I was like, so because we did this big kind of launch thing on the 15th, and we were just looking for the link on the book, and I was like, oh, it's #1 in new releases, but it's not #1 anymore. It's someone just shared in the chat, so it changes every day, and the different categories change, but definitely doing best in Java programming on the Kindle version, so you can get the paperback version or the Kindle version. But by no means did I ever think it would be a bestseller. For me, it really was about just sharing knowledge and just wanting to get that information and kind of put it together in a structured way that could help more people. So scaling myself beyond the people that I was individually able to talk to. So
Bruno, you're going to focus your camera on the unboxing, not on you. Show the unboxing.
Okay.
I just finished just waiting for Heather to finish.
Okay. Yeah, because if you think about, Heather, to your point, between 3 of us, we know a few Java people around the world.
Right, and that's why it's popular in the Java category, but it actually goes way beyond the Java category, right? So it's not specific to the Java community. It's really
let's do the unboxing. There we go.
All right. Yes. I just want to make sure that I don't show anything that's too private, right?
Should I play some music? Hold on, let me play some music here. How about we play some hip-hop music? Okay, hip-hop music.
Guys, this is totally crazy, right? Because my wife just brought in the box, and while I'm here, so lots of paper. Yes. All right. More paper. Right. And here. Whoa. Like several books here, right? So several books. Thanks a lot, packed, right? So it's awesome.
Fantastic.
So you guys, I'm seeing the book for the very, very first time, right?
Freshly minted.
And so this is totally great. And I'll tell you what, guys, the font's a lot smaller than expected. So it is a lot of things to read, right?
You need to tell me, was this planned or not planned?
Oh, I'm just seeing for the first time, right? So
no, I'm saying the book unveiling, was this planned or not planned?
Oh, no, it's totally not planned because, I talked to Heather earlier today that Pact had sent me a message that they shipped the books. I didn't know when it's going to happen, right? And so not only that, usually I'll tell you this. Usually my wife would not interrupt me in the middle of a live. So I think that she only brought the book here because, the box is too big. She didn't want to leave in the living room, right? So it was like totally unplanned.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
and
no,
I
no,
mean, maybe we can have another live unboxing because I'm still waiting for my package to come. But I did go ahead and order it myself on Amazon, and I
Right.
got the
that is
copy
beautiful.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So
What a phenomenon. Heather, you want to share the code, what people can use?
right. So we just started a promotion on the Amazon store for the paperback version. You can use code 20career for 20% discount right now.
Okay. That's
Very
great.
easy. 20 career, right? That's a career
Yeah.
book, right? So career, and you get the book. I think the code only works for Amazon US, right?
Amazon US and the paperback version.
For the paperback version, yes, right. So,
Great.
man,
Well,
it's awesome, guys. This
what
looks
a
cool.
beautiful ending to a highly entertaining webinar. I really enjoyed it. And Bruno, you brought a lot of people, over here, Bruno and Heather together. So that's amazing, actually. I really
Yes.
enjoyed it. Any last closing comment from either one of you?
Well, I thought that was super cool to have the live unboxing. So thanks for that. And totally unplanned. So you never know what's going to happen, right? When you put yourself out there and, just say yes to the opportunities that come in front of you, and you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And thanks so much, Arun, for having us on the
Absolutely.
live. That was fun. I think
Yeah.
this is my first LinkedIn live, actually. So maybe you'll see more of me on the LinkedIn live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my only advice to anybody in their career is get very comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
If you get that way, that takes you a long way. Just put yourself, as Heather, as you said, just put yourself out there. Find out what's happening. Because once you put yourself out there, opportunities will come accordingly. So fantastic. Bruno, any closing comment from you?
So thanks so much, guys. Thanks Arun for doing this. And I'm out of words right now because I'm actually getting the book for the first time.
Catch your breath.
It's so cool, right? And as Heather said, guys, every time that you like you do like our room, you be uncomfortable, you put yourself out there, you're willing to come and do something, then things can happen, right? So the fact that me and Heather, we talked to each other about writing a book. When the opportunity came, she remembered me, right? Because she could have thought about someone else, right? But we had mentioned that, we had discussed it, and that gave me this opportunity to be here with you guys and having a book, right? Actually get the book again, right? So having the book again.
And then you bring your copy as well. Yeah, bring your copy.
Okay, here we go. Got the copy. All right.
Woo-hoo! Woo!
Yes, Heather and Bruno, right? So having the book.
That's awesome. Really loving it.
All
it.
right. There it
So
is.
this whole thing started right with this, with sharing, with put yourself
Right.
uncomfortable, raising your hand. I always tell these people, right? So raise your hand. When someone says, "Do you want to do something?" You say, I do. So raise your hand, because many times, Arun, we hear something, you say, "Oh man, I would love to do that, but I'm not capable." So then you don't raise your hand. You don't say, "I'd love to do it," right? And so then no one knows that you want to do it. And then later on said, "Oh man, I would love to have been part of that. Oh, I was needing someone that time."
Yeah.
Raise your hand, guys. Say you're willing to do it.
And
Go do it.
JCP, don't forget to join. You can join the JCP. I just have the sticker on my desk. JCP.org. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we talked about the JCP celebrating 25 years. We're going to start some celebrations around the world starting in November. You can get your kits to have your own JCP parties. So
excellent. Yeah, no, I think this is phenomenal. Really, get rid of that imposter syndrome and be like the donkey in Shrek. Pick me, pick me, pick me,
Yes,
pick me.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's asking for the link on Amazon. And by the way, we have a whole chapter in the book called Step Outside Your Comfort Zone. So just exactly that. And I think I have that exact phrase in chapter 5, Arun, which is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And,
There you go.
that's
Awesome.
great advice.
Fantastic. All right, folks. This was a lot of fun.
Just give 1 second here.
The link to the book. Can you share it, Arun?
I have a short link here. Just give 1
I
second.
can drop a message right here in the chat window.
Private chat.
No, not in the private chat, but
can we all share in the chat?
We
Okay.
don't have access to that. You have to share this, right? So the links.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
there's a short link
I
for
can
the-
copy paste
right
it.
there. Yes, you can copy paste it right.
So the
there.
one that you dropped in the private chat, I can share in the public one?
Yes, that's yeah. Just please do. That's the link to the Amazon to the Amazon
Okay.
US store. So if you're not in the US, or if the US store is not your Amazon store, you might need to change the link to whatever store that you use in Amazon. But yes.
All right. I had so much fun. We have been talking about having fun. I had a phenomenal fun, doing this, and hope everybody has a wonderful weekend or wherever you are in the world. Bye, folks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.